Now what are you up to?
What does it look like I'm up to?
Well, it looks like you're wanking your crank.
I'm trying to build a fire, all right?
You might as well pour ice cubes in there. You're never gonna have a fire going that way. You don't crumple a newspaper up, you twist it, lengthwise to simulate kindling. That's the way you get it going.
Maybe, Roman, just maybe, I'm trying to heat up the flu.
Oh, he's heating the flu. Meanwhile, the human beings in the room are freezing to death.
I'm really not cold. Not at all.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, Roman. Forgive me. Why don't you come over here and show me how to do it? You talk a great game. Come on over. Let's see a little action. After all, you know everything. You know exactly what to do at any given moment.
Katie, you were absolutely right. We should have gone to Europe. Or maybe even Haiti. Or Antarctica. Or the Dead Sea. Would have had a lot more fun.
Is that a fact? Well, nobody forced you to come up here, buddy boy. As a matter of fact, I don't remember anybody inviting you up here. Do you remember inviting him? I sure as hell don't.
And what exactly is that statement supposed to mean?
You figure it out for yourself.
No, you specify. You clarify for me, all right? Just as a common courtesy, if you don't mind.
You know damn well what he means.
I think they're trying to say that we're not welcome.
Aha! What did I hear? We've got a bingo! You did figure it out, Kate.
So, now it's all starting to ooze out. It's very interesting, isn't it, Katie?
Yeah, very.
Especially since we threw aside our plans, and we had a great European vacation plan. Throw aside our plans to come up here to show these dead asses how to start to learn to have a good time. Thanks for ruining my vacation, Ripley.
What was that? Ruining your vacation? Is that what you said? Oh, come on. I don't believe I heard you say that.
You'd better believe it.
Don't push it, Roman.
You ain't even seen pushing yet. You know the trouble with you, Ripley? You wouldn't know a good time if it fell out of the sky, landed on your face, and started to wiggle.
Oh, you got an awful lot of nerve, Roman. A lot of nerve.
It served me well. I'm the one with the Mercedes.
By the way, is it paid for?
You jealous? Chester?
Don't call me Chester. Call me that one more time, you're gonna go home with a dent in your forehead.
Oh, yeah, that'll be the day.
Would you like one to match his?
Hey, take it
Dad,
easy. You want to go right now?
Dad. No one's denting anybody.
Thanks, Bucky.
Oh, bite the big one, Uncle Roman.
Hey, don't talk to adults that way.
Why not?
Because it's rude.
Oh, blow it out your ass.
A modern day remake of Matthew Vaughn's Lake. You could Coen Brothers end up with Timothy Chalamet. A Citizen Kane prequel, a Midnight Cowboy sequel. Alvin and the Chipmunks deserve another squeakquel. There's so many new ways to revisit sideways, but a graphic novel is how we choose to update. But we still hold fast, you can't change the past on the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters, Cheeseheads, Schlemiels, and Schlemazzles. This is Ruined Childhoods, and we are on the second to last episode of our year-long cinematic exploration of the United States. On this episode, we are in the Badger State, otherwise known as America's Dairyland. Famous folks who have chosen to live in this state for a time include Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Seann William Scott. But much like Han Solo, the Terminator, and Stifler, not all who come to this state stay here for long. In fact, this state has certainly had its fair share of visitors. The French missionaries and explorers were coming here as early as the late 1600s to trade with the Native Americans. In fact, its most populous city is named for the Algonquin word meaning the good land. Some say that one of the most interesting facts about this city is that it's the only major American city to have ever elected 3 socialist mayors. That's right, we are in Wisconsin. Dan, to quote the legendary amateur inventor Steve Urkel, got any cheese?
Not on my head, certainly, but always on my mind.
And of course, we had to show our respect for the iconic Wayne's World, Alice Cooper.
Had you ended it right there, I would have said, does this guy know how to party or what?
You know, I knew that there were certain moments where if I had paused, you would have probably said, isn't Milwaukee a Native American word? And then I would have said, yes, Dan, it is.
Yeah. Milwaukee.
So I had to figure out how to craft it so it would work with what we're going with here.
Oh no, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, we're
Wisconsin.
not talking about Wayne's World. We've already talked about Wayne's World on this series, but we're doing the Great Outdoors.
We devote a whole episode to it, plus we reference it frequently.
Oh, well, I mean, when you have the opportunity and there are frequent opportunities, you have to take them.
I today had the opportunity at my job, and for those new to the podcast, welcome.
Hello.
And you're learning now that I'm a high school teacher, and was talking to one of my students who asked if the phrase was cross your T's and dot your I's. And I said, yes, except I say cross your T's and dot your lowercase J's.
Sure.
As a reference to Wayne's World 2 that nobody who I actually say this to ever gets.
This just goes to show you how iconic of a sequel Wayne's World 2 really is, because we have talked about specifically Wayne's World 2 on this podcast as being, first of all, a predecessor almost beat for beat to a side, like the C story of Wayne's World 2 with To Die For.
Yeah.
And what was the one recently? There was it was Officer and a Gentleman. I have nowhere else to go.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, what a great movie.
So influential, so wonderful. And you know, and I was trying to think to myself right now, Dan Aykroyd does tend to pop up in a lot of those SNL movies. Did he pop up in Wayne's World 2? And I cannot.
No.
Nor did he pop up in Wayne's World 1.
No, he did not. Yeah, I mean, he's Zelensky in Tommy Boy, which is not technically a Saturday Night Live movie. Yeah. It's kind of, is it a Lorne Michaels production?
Yeah. But, and that would be the perfect segue, but I feel like it, this is a movie podcast.
Yeah.
And, today, September 9th, Monday, we lost a true legend of the film and industry. A titan it's almost an understatement because of the iconic voices that he's provided. But on top of that, just a brilliant actor. And of course, we're talking about James Earl Jones, who we have discussed at length when we covered the film The Man, in which he starred.
Yeah. Have we done any other James Earl Jones movies?
Not that I
Isn't that weird?
Think of. It is weird. And I'm trying to think, all right, so I have in mind the one that we're most likely to cover because
Field of Dreams. You're thinking Star Wars. I was just like, Star Wars is one that it's too, how could you even cover that?
We can't, this is not a podcast for Star Wars. In a podcast, speculate about reboots, remakes, sequels, etc. We can't talk about Star Wars that there's no speculation to be done. It's all been done.
No, it's all happened. But sure. But for James Earl Jones, I mean, sure, Field of Dreams, The Sandlot. I mean, you can't even really scratch the surface without talking about like 10 other movies.
You know what he's in that I was thinking of, and this would be an interesting one to talk about, is Soul Man.
Ooh. Oof. How do we talk about Soul Man?
Cautiously.
Very cautiously.
And with a good deal of hindsight.
I was just thinking about Soul Man, starring C. Thomas Howell,
Ray Don
and Ray Don Chong, and on the Action Boys podcast, they were doing a movie called Side Out for their September. They always do sports in September, so it's Sports-tember. And so they're doing this beach volleyball movie with C. Thomas Howell. And it got me thinking about his career and, of course, Ray Don Chong. And I believe the two of them were involved romantically for a time, I think around when they were doing Soul Man, which is like, I don't know, double perplexing because it's a blackface movie. Yeah.
Yes, and it would be we're not going to talk about the movie today, but just it would actually be really interesting to hear the thoughts of Ray Don Chong or James Earl Jones about their roles in that movie and kind of how they saw it, because there have been similar movies made where it was definitely for a satirical purpose. I'm thinking of Watermelon Man primarily, which is it's the other way around.
Yes.
But I think about that movie where there's definitely a purpose and it's a satire. And I wonder if Soul Man's the kind of movie that started out that way, but then they tried to make it marketable.
Yeah, directed by Steve Miner. Yeah,
we know Steve Miner from stuff.
Yeah,
I forget what. But.
He did some of the Friday the 13th movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
stuff
anyway,
like that.
Another time, another place. But like, yeah. So James Earl Jones again.
Did we do Coming to America?
Coming to America?
Did we ever cover that?
Oh, did we do it? No,
yeah.
We have not done.
Okay.
I don't think so. No. We have not done Coming to America, nor have we done Dr. Strangelove, which I'm not sure if that was his first film, but definitely up there. Definitely one of them.
Yeah. I mean, an absolute legend and, 93 years old. So it's, he lived a long life and hopefully a good one, at least from the perspective of, movie lovers. Certainly it, and he did his thing the way that he wanted to and left a major mark.
Also overcame a stutter.
True. Yeah.
Quite a stuttering problem. But also when you think about, in particular, Star Wars and The Lion King.
Yeah.
I think about how much he did some voicing for the upcoming Mufasa movie.
Oh, he must have.
Yeah. So I think about what he's done with that and what he's done with Star Wars and what those creators, what people will likely do, like taking his voice and using outtakes and using AI for a decent purpose to kind of create more like Darth Vader dialogue so they can continue pumping out Star Wars and having the authentic voice, but just taking his sound clips and creating new dialogue.
Yeah. I mean, unless he has some sort of like rule, like, things in his estate that says not to do that specifically. I mean,
I don't know.
Hard to say.
Like he did that so much and for so many things where you're like, I bet you James Earl Jones didn't do it for this. And sure, like there it is.
Yep.
So James Earl Jones, man, rest in peace, because man, did you work. Also, one last thing I'm going to shout out, but it's not in a movie. He was in the original Broadway production of August Wilson's Fences. Oh. And while I did not see that on Broadway, I being 10 at the time, I have seen clips of it online, and man, what a powerful stage actor.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever anybody who can project to the back of the room, it's James Earl Jones.
Oh, seriously. So, so we'd be remiss if we did not mention that and just kind of send our, voice our appreciation
totally
for James Earl Jones and his work.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have been nice to have seen him in the movie that we're covering this week, but such is not the case.
No.
Not, I mean, clearly we mentioned Coming to America, so it's not like he never did comedies, and we won't mention Soul Man as falling into that category, but
he did plenty of other comedies.
And I hope he had fun. And I imagine that should he have had a role, what?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. The other thing that we covered, and he only had a cameo in it, Sneakers.
I was trying to remember if he was in Sneakers.
Yes.
Remind me who he plays in Sneakers.
He comes in at the end.
Right.
And
yes.
He's
right.
Like
he gets FBI or something.
CIA, I think. Yeah. Like he's the one who gets the machine and makes all the deals with everybody.
Yes. Oh, I'm glad that you remembered that because Sneakers is such a good one. That was during our Robert Redford
and James
festival.
Earl Jones is just the icing on the cake of that movie because like by the time you get there, you've gone through the ride with them, and then it's like James Earl Jones and you're like, oh yes, one last treat before we go.
Yeah.
But yes,
well, he'll be missed. But let's move on to our Wisconsin film. This is, like I said, this is our second to last movie in our series of going across the country, and we're doing it alphabetically.
Wow.
So Wisconsin followed by Wyoming. We'll talk about that later. And, when it comes to Wisconsin movies, it's, there's not a lot to choose from. And even this movie, it's never fully established because it seems like at times they even go as far to say that maybe it's in Canada, but it's like they never really settled on it, but it's like the marketing materials have established it's Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah. It's this, right. It's a lake. It's the
North Lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they didn't film it there. They filmed it in California.
They filmed it in California. Yep.
So, I think it takes place in Wisconsin, and I think it does do a good job of representing, that kind of like vacation community culture. And we have seen that before. It makes me think of Mystic Pizza.
Mystic Pizza. Well, also
very
another
different.
John Candy movie we covered is
Summer Rental.
Yeah. So I feel like I always kind of associated Summer Rental and The Great Outdoors together, even though, different, directors, creative minds and everything. But it's a John Candy dad on a vacation trying to make the most of things.
Yep.
Trying to make a good experience. Yeah.
Just determined to have that family time.
Yeah.
Before the kids get too grown up.
Yeah.
And I mean, it even feels like his character's like the name Chet Ripley.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
I feel like what was his character's name in Summer Rental?
Dan, we're going to talk about John Candy names a little bit later.
Oh,
I will tell you
great.
the name is Jack Chester, but that's only because I have something prepared for us.
Oh, yes. Okay. Fantastic.
So why don't I synopsize?
Yes,
why don't
please.
I synopsize? Because you're the way I begin the synopsis, it flows beautifully. So shall I? For those just listening with audio and not watching video, Dan just gesticulated wildly. Bizarrely named Chet Ripley is a simple family man looking to get away from the hustle and bustle of Chicago with his family to a cabin resort in the northern lakes of Wisconsin. But his plans of a simple and peaceful retreat are interrupted when his wife's snooty sister, her blowhard husband, and their creepy kids unexpectedly show up. Along with Chet on his trip is his wife Connie, older son Buck Ripley, and younger son Benny. I just needed to mention Buck Ripley because what is that name? During their trip, teenager Buck happens upon waitress Cammie, a cute local who Buck instantly finds attractive. Cammie, reluctant to get something started with a tourist, succumbs to Buck's charms, but that's as simple as the plots get in this movie. Roman, the aforementioned brother-in-law, relentlessly undermines Chet's attempts to give his family a classic cabin vacation. He insists on replacing hot dogs with expensive lobster tails. He dissuades Buck and Benny from a fun pontoon cruise on the lake by suggesting a fast speedboat. But some antics are out of the control of Chet and Roman. The wildlife seems to be conspiring against them as well. The raccoons make a feast of their trash. They're nearly outsmarted by a bat, and the local bears are a whole other story. But the only animal that can try to con their own family out of money is human, specifically Roman. So Dan Aykroyd plays Roman, John Candy plays Chet, Stephanie Pharisee is Connie. Did I say that right?
I think so.
Okay.
I'll reach out to her reps.
Okay. Annette Bening in her first theatrical role is Katie, who's Roman's wife. Chris Young is Buck. Lucy Deakins is Cammy. I did some research on Lucy. She is a practicing attorney. Did you also look her up?
Yeah. Because I remembered her from The Boy Who Could Fly.
Yes. Also starring, and I forget his name, but
Jay Underwood.
Yeah, the Bug from Uncle Buck.
Wait. Oh, Bug from Uncle. Oh, yes.
The boyfriend from Uncle Buck.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
We have Robert Prosky as Wally, who owns the cabin.
Love Robert
Ian Giatti
Prosky
as Benny. Hillary and Kara Craig as the twins. Hillary and Rebecca Gordon as Kara and Mara, the twins. Mm-hmm. Plenty of other fantastic cast members, but I feel like we can't mention the cast without talking about Bart the Bear.
Definitely.
Film legend, second only to James Earl Jones, Bart the Bear.
Seriously, Bart the Bear might be the most... is Bart the Bear like the most famous animal actor that played like more than one role, like the most versatile?
I need to look up the dog's name, but the dog from Silence of the Lambs, who is also who's also in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Let me look up that dog. Dog from Silence of the Lambs.
I've got your dog, mister.
Darla is her name. And she was also in Batman Returns. Filmography.
Oh, yes, I remember her in Batman Returns. Okay, yes.
So Pee-wee's Big Adventure, The Burbs, Silence of the Lambs, and Batman Returns. I mean, and also a couple of TV appearances, but that's a pretty impressive list right there. I mean, 4 bangers.
It's a stiff competition for Bart the Bear.
Yeah. So Darla and Bart,
most versatile animal actor. Yeah. But yeah, Bart the Bear is should have billing in this.
Yeah. Above the title.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan, do you remember watching this as a kid much?
I remember I didn't see it in the theater, and it was funny because I was thinking about this movie and just thinking about 1988, and that was kind of like a weird year for movies. It kind of, for me, it falls between like a couple of blockbuster years, like 87 and 89, and then 88's just in there. But 88 gave us a lot of solid PG rated movies. And I think about, and okay, solid might be depending on your perspective, because
give us a list here.
Well, so Beetlejuice.
Oh,
The Burbs. I think The Burbs was PG.
Was The Burbs PG?
Maybe not, but possibly.
It was PG, and it was technically released February '89.
Oh, okay. All right. So 88. So 88 was not The Burbs. Okay. So never mind. Forget The Burbs. Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
Big.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not solid, but Crocodile Dundee 2 did make a lot of money. The other twos that didn't, Short Circuit 2, Caddyshack 2.
Yeah.
Did I say Beetlejuice already?
You said Beetlejuice.
Pre-summer.
Try not to say it one more time.
Oh, I don't know. I have not seen the sequel yet. I don't want to. I can't.
We will
I'm
not
gonna
talk
see
about it.
Gonna see it. We won't talk about it. But other PG movies. Here I was thinking like, oh yeah, lots of Big Top Pee-wee.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Was that summer? So anyway, you had a lot of that, and I feel like the summer, like 1988 movies, kind of aged better. I didn't see The Great Outdoors at the time. It must have been a Blockbuster rental. It definitely seems like something I would have been interested in watching.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 11 at the time, and so I was pretty much the target demographic for this movie.
Well, so the movie written by John Hughes, directed by Howard Deutch, but I feel like it's appropriate to talk about this movie as a John Hughes movie. It contains so many characteristics stylistically of John Hughes movies, where it's like real life events, but everything is elevated in a comical way.
Right.
It's like, it's just at a level where it's just slightly unbelievable, but it still seems to take place in the real world.
Right. The raccoons, I think, the raccoons we get subtitles for, so not like they really talk, but I thought the raccoons were funny. And when I watching it later as an adult, you've seen it a few times over the years, I appreciate more of it going forward. I remember thinking it was very, mediocre at the time. And I've also gained appreciation for Dan Aykroyd more than I had.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you.
Yeah. And so I didn't necessarily I didn't watch it a lot, but yet there are scenes and quotes from it that have stayed with me, I think, since the first time I watched it.
Give me some examples.
Lips and assholes, Chet. Lips and assholes.
Yep. In reference to hot dogs.
In reference to hot dogs. And the blow it out your ass scene. Right.
That's, can you explain that one? I'm trying to think of exactly how that.
It's when tensions come to a head. I don't know if it's right after the bat or what it is, but it's where everyone is just letting their true, feelings out and saying things. And it's everybody saying oh, blow it out your ass, Chet. Blow it out your ass, Roman.
Oh, right.
Oh, please, that's enough. Oh, blow it out your ass. And and I know Annette Bening says it once, and the kids are sitting there watching. I think one of the kids says it I think he says blow it out your ass, Uncle Roman. And then Chet is like, hey, there's those scenes. There's again, the raccoons. Yeah. And their conversations as they're going through the trash, the steak scene.
Oh yeah. The old 96er.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
I mean, that's pretty horrific. That one is hard. That's the scene that gets harder to watch as you get older.
Yeah. So, I mean, this movie to me, it's mostly a series of I want to have a scene where they're covered in leeches. I want to have a scene where he's eating a giant steak. I want scene where and then it's everything else is just the connecting thread. And the plot line of why Roman is there seems a little shoehorned in, but it's fine. But ultimately, the movie exists to give us these memorable moments in quotes.
Yeah.
And to let John Candy be John Candy and Dan Aykroyd to be Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. And it's you go into it knowing what's going on. It's a John Hughes movie. The selfish prick is going to see the error of his ways and show that he's really a decent person underneath it all.
Yeah. I watched it I watched, obviously John Hughes, so many incredible movies that he's either written or directed. And it's interesting to look at this one and kind of in conversation with those and he almost directed this. He was just, busy at the time. But thinking about movies that came before this, like She's Having a Baby, which I think was filming right around the same time as this, because at the end of She's Having a Baby, you see Dan Aykroyd and John Candy like in character from The Great Outdoors. And that movie's 1988, I think, right?
That movie's, I think, 87. I think
Is
it's
it
late
87?
87.
But it's like so close to it. And it's like while filming The Great Outdoors, it's like, hey, I'm doing something for the end credits of She's Having a Baby. Because they're all talking about like, what would you name a baby boy or something like that.
Right.
And so it's like, and then there's also, you have Ferris Bueller doing the same thing in character, probably because they were filming and they were just like, hey, real quick, I need something. And so it's just like the John Hughes cinematic universe, the Shermer, Illinois extended universe. This one clearly can't exist there, but perhaps their home in Chicago really is in Shermer.
Well, I mean, I wonder, do we find out where Roman and his family live?
At the end?
Because they have Illinois plates.
Do they have Illinois plates?
I'm almost positive, because it's like Roman 1 or something like that.
It would make sense for them to have Illinois plates. But at the end, when they're leaving, John Candy, Dan Aykroyd says, like, I'll race you home. And that's when John Candy finds out that his wife has invited them to live with them because they're broke. And he's like, why would you race me? Because you're going to this place and we live here. And then he's like, wait a second, what's going on? So I can't remember exactly what he said, but
I'm like, I could totally, like, what if Roman lived in the, I mean, I guess not if they're broke, but I'm like, they could live in the Home Alone neighborhood.
Well, I mean, they could, if they were living outside their means. It's just that he had money, but he lost it all.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, imagining the greater John Hughes cinematic universe is a lot of fun. I like thinking about that, and it's interesting to see how many places John Candy pops up. Another movie that comes out in late 1987 is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Right. Yeah.
Which pairs John Candy with Steve Martin, and it's a little more nuanced. Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles to me is kind of like it might to me be the apex of like John Hughes comedy and pathos combined.
That one definitely has the strongest plot line plus memorable quotes and scenes. It
Also,
has like
just
an even split of the two.
The character work is great because they're both multi-dimensional characters, whereas in The Great Outdoors, they're a little two-dimensional, and they're very much fitting those archetypes of the characters, wherein like there's a sadness in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles to Del, there's a sadness to Neil.
Yeah.
And like, I agree. I think it's, the story is pretty simple for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, but it's the character development.
Yeah.
That really kind of puts it over the top. I mean, if you were to go back and look at, kind of do a hindsight of 1987 films, I don't know that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles made it to many top 10 lists that year, but looking back, like maybe it would.
Well, I don't know if you would kind of rank it just with that year, but when it comes to holiday movies, I mean, it is the Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah.
Like it really is at the top of the list for that category. Maybe with like, is Home for the Holidays also Thanksgiving?
It's also Thanksgiving.
Yeah. But doesn't quite compare to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
No.
Also, you get your McClurg. It's great.
Oh, McClurg has like maybe like the best line in the movie, or that scene with her and Steve Martin is brilliant. But anyway, like how it connects to The Great Outdoors is it's kind of another representation of that John Candy pairing.
Yeah.
Where we're going to pair, like, we know by the end of the movie, like, Neil and Del are going to be lifelong friends.
Yeah, totally. They have this wonderful shared experience. And there have been so many movies that have kind of come following it that try to emulate that type of thing and, you know, have that road trip where it's two people who are an odd couple that by the end they are bonded and are looking out for one another. And that was really, you know, an early example of like how it could work. And it certainly helps that it's John Candy and Steve Martin. And John Candy, the late, great John Candy, I can't even imagine the contributions he would have made to movies had he not passed away. But man, he's so incredible at playing, you know, yes, he can do the dad who's trying to make the best of a bad situation. He can do, you know, the Uncle Buck type where it's his heart is in the right place, but his, you know, natural tendencies get in the way of things. I also love movies like Who's Harry Crumb? And, you know, a character like that where he's, you know, he's clever and weird and does things in his own way. And he's likable in a very strange way that's not very standard. And I don't know. I was just at Movie Madness, which is a fantastic video rental store here in Portland. And I just noticed the other day behind the counter, they have the Who's Harry Crumb like cut out on the wall where he's like with the suction cups and stuff like that. And I was just like, mad respect, you know?
Oh,
that wasn't a hit.
No, not at all. But that was another one that got a lot of play in our house, a lot of HBO.
Yeah, it was on cable.
And then taped off HBO because, like, it was, you know.
Yeah, Delirious is a fun one.
Which one?
Delirious.
Oh, you know, I've never seen that one.
Really? I remember watching it a bunch as a kid.
I never watched the one where he's the soap opera writer.
Yes.
Never watched it.
Wow. Okay.
Never watched it. I remember that. I think that came out the same summer as Only the Lonely.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I mean, another magnificent, like, John Candy. You really feel for the guy in that movie, and he's so great at eliciting that sympathy from an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, I don't, this movie may have been just like slightly after your time, but it was like for me, I was at the right age to appreciate Cool Runnings and watch it over and over and over again. I remember watching it on a plane. It was like, this is when airplanes, they just showed one movie and everybody stared at like one of the 5 screens, and Cool Runnings was the movie.
What a great plane movie.
Great plane movie.
I would watch Cool Runnings like a couple of times over a flight. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so fun movie.
So fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You know, you forget about.
He's so versatile. He was also in JFK.
I was just because I'm thinking about now. It's like, oh, right. You forget he's in Cool Runnings. He's in, you got the right ta-ta, but the wrong ho-ho. He's in JFK.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder, you know, I wonder if he would have gotten into directing.
Huh. We'll never know.
No, we'll never know. But
and it's also and everything you hear from people also is just that he was the best guy. Yeah. He was just the nicest dude in the world.
I know his daughter, Jennifer, I believe, has really been doing a lot to kind of keep his legacy alive, so to speak. I remembered reading some things a few years ago that she's also involved in the Second City scene.
Sure. Okay.
Or at least was as of a few years ago. But
yeah. And kind of moving on to Dan Aykroyd, you know, we know that he can play the dad type, you know, movies like My Girl, you know, he can play the dorky type, like in Ghostbusters, and the blowhard archetype, like in this and in Tommy Boy and
Trading
Places, absolutely. And yeah, he's super versatile, and it's kind of a shame that just in the past, like if you look at his recent credits, it's mostly all just like the Ghostbusters movies. And I think that otherwise he's just doing his vodka thing and his spiritual, occult thing.
That's great.
Yeah, sure.
Like he's definitely contributed quite a bit to popular culture, especially in the last 25 years of the 20th century, from SNL to which you've got Jason Reitman's Saturday Night that's coming out.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Which is naturally going to feature Aykroyd as a character.
Yes.
And yeah, everything that he's contributed, and yeah, he's had a lot of. We've talked about Nothing But Trouble.
Yes, we have talked about Nothing But Trouble. I'll talk about it again as long as you want.
Yeah, no,
John Candy also.
Yes, yeah, another Candy Aykroyd collaboration.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you look back and like with the Ghostbusters movies, like I watched Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
I watched it the other night. It was for the second time, and it's not amazing, but it gets the job done.
It's fun. It's enjoyable. To me, it's got like one too many like nudge, wink, wink references.
Totally. I like McKenna Grace a lot. I thought that she's fantastic. Finn Wolfhard, I think, is really strong, and Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon. Like, they're the ones that I'm there for. I'm not there for the other ones. I'm not there for the original Ghostbusters, which is funny. Maybe Winston, if any.
Well, yeah, and it was definitely interesting in Frozen Empire how like Winston and Ernie Hudson kind of got their, due respect with Winston playing such a significant role in that. They're fun, and I like that. It feels like Aykroyd just enjoys doing that.
And he's great at it. And I felt like his role in Frozen Empire felt really appropriate, pairing him up with Podcast. And it makes sense. He's kind of this, he buys these haunted artifacts off of people, and it tracks, and it's a lot of fun. But going back to the great outdoors.
All right. Yeah. Back to the great outdoors.
One of the things that I guess I didn't appreciate when I was younger watching this, that I appreciated more this time, was I think just the world that it creates in this small community. I thought that the Buck storyline with Cammy was really nice, and like it was a bit of a vacation from the craziness of all of the rest of the movie. And it's sure, it's not like it's a perfect plot line or anything, and I don't understand why she wants to immediately be this dude's week-long girlfriend, but whatever.
You know what though, we've seen that in the movies that we've covered, and I totally agree with you. It's a really sweet plot. Chris Young, one of those actors who at that time was really popular for this type of role, and it represents that kind of that lake, that culture, that like vacation town culture.
Yeah.
Like Mystic Pizza, kind of similar to the situation in Officer and a Gentleman.
Sure. Yeah. The temporary,
the sound
people who are passing through the Puget Sound Debs.
Yeah. The Puget Sound Debs.
But that one's more interesting because there's kind of a motive for that type of character. Whereas these teens who are working at the drive-in, burger place,
I mean, similar and not too far from Dirty Dancing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where the guests come and they carry
temporary
on with the
romances.
Staff. Yeah. So it feels kind of authentic to that, even though I've never really experienced that type of life firsthand, like living in a lake town or really like, being a frequent visitor at a place like that.
Yeah.
So it feels like, especially if you live in the Midwest and you really don't have like the shore, we grew up on the East Coast. We had the shore.
Yeah.
So, but in the Midwest, you've got the lakes, and you go to these lakes and you buy a lake house, and you probably go and see like the same people over and over. Even Chet talks about how they had been there when he was a kid.
Yeah. I think that he went there when he was a kid, and then they went there on their honeymoon, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is when he had this alleged visit by the bear and shot the top of its head off.
Yep. Sure did. It's bald on both ends now.
Oh my God. That the Bart the Bear ass was a pretty shocking moment.
But yeah, also like, so John Hughes, but like the PG, like John Hughes, like this type of John Hughes, it fit perfectly. There must be something about the John Hughes of it all, at Howard Deutch, we have to mention Howard Deutch, that I think lets you get away with a little bit more in a PG movie, because there's also, I mean, clearly the raccoons swear and things like that, but also there's a moment when Dan Aykroyd is like getting up to go to the bathroom, and he goes, "Time to introduce Mr. Thick Dick to Mr. Urinal Cake." And it's just one of those, like, just when he happens to utter lines where it's just like, can you say that in a PG movie? Well, John, also notable about 1988's PG movies was that the belt seemed to be loosened a little bit. You had F-bombs in Beetlejuice and Caddyshack too.
Right. Yeah.
Practically unheard of, but also these were the early days of PG-13. So
yeah,
but yeah. Also, there is that John Hughes-ness of it all, where it's that like it's less adult profanity and it's more middle school profanity.
Sure, and also it's kind of like the kids probably aren't paying too close attention because this guy talks so fast and you just know that he's a jerk. And so the focus isn't on him as much when you're a kid.
And for the raccoon profanity, you have to be able to read to understand it.
That is true.
It's reading.
Yeah.
And like, do we want kids to not read? I mean,
this is true.
We want them to read.
You can say it if you can read it.
There we go.
That's my rule. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So
some of those words aren't too hard to read.
It's true. But I my kid right now is trying to learn to read, and it's like, look, if there's incentive where it's just like, hey, in this sentence there's a bad word, and I'm going to let you say it if you can read it out loud. And
there we go.
That's kind of fun.
There we go. That's a carrot at the end of the stick.
I have a couple of little fun things for us, but before we do that, why don't we talk a little bit about, first of all, how there in 2021 were talks of there being a remake with Kevin Hart. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that feels, and I feel like that was that in 2021 or was that a little earlier?
Well, 2017 was the Kevin Hart. In 2021, there was talk of a sequel.
Aykroyd was talking about a sequel, which, like, no, buddy, do another Ghostbusters.
Yeah, he's talking with Deutch about, bring back Roman as a Ponzi scheme guy who victimizes a federal agent. And then he says he was looking for the Candy figure to cast in the film, which is just like, I don't know.
No.
You can't recreate the magic there.
How much of your vodka did you have before you said that in an interview, Dan Aykroyd?
And I mean, talks in 2017 about doing a remake. If it hasn't happened by now, it's probably not happening.
Well, and so when you put that conversation in like the mid 20 teens,
yeah,
the Kevin Hart remake feels kind of obvious.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know that. I think a remake would definitely, I think, would be the way to go with this movie.
Yeah.
But it's more just the idea of two people who are related. The idea that they're related by marriage, I think, works. Like, you keep that the one, it shows up uninvited, unexpectedly at the other's family vacation, and like, does all the things, kind of similarly, tries to make everything snooty and, tries to impress everybody with everything. But you don't have to do this. You don't have to do a water skiing scene. And also you don't have to have like, we don't have to play around with like people's weight as a source for humor.
No.
Yeah. You could tell this story enough with those characters, just that like the one character that really just wants to have like maybe one last family vacation like this. And then the other character who like kind of doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So this is what he does. I was kind of thinking about different casting for it.
Okay.
Though. And I was like, I could kind of see Sam Richardson in that family.
I love Sam Richardson.
That he's so good. And I think that like his approach would be really funny because he plays those characters so well that have trouble. Like they usually like, sit back and they don't get confrontational. But then when they do,
yeah,
you don't want to be in the other end of that. And
just real quick, but if you're talking Sam Richardson, you also have to talk about Tim Robinson, because The Great Outdoors is not a movie that is well known and beloved because of its plot line. It's well known and beloved because of the chemistry between its stars. And Sam Richardson and Tim Robinson are, they're comedy partners. They had they did Detroiters together. Sam Richardson does a lot of the sketches on I Think You Should Leave, and Sam Richardson's like kind of soft father-like qualities match so perfectly with Tim Robinson's blowhard characters that would make him a perfect Aykroyd replacement.
He would.
You have some other ideas.
You know who I would love to see as Roman? Henry Cavill.
Oh, okay.
I was watching The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh, yeah, that just went out to streaming again.
Well, I think about his performance in that, and I think about him in Mission Impossible, and I feel like he could do comedy.
He's very good in Fallout.
He's great. Yeah. And I think he's got a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
I would love to, but he hasn't really done comedy. I would like to see him in a comedy. I don't know that he's the pairing with Sam Richardson.
You know who would also be really great alongside Sam Richardson is Timothy Simons, Jonah from Veep.
Oh, yes. I mean, it does go along with the idea of like putting together famous, well-known comic personality. But no, Timothy Simons would be really good there.
Yeah.
Some other. That was really it. I was also thinking Justin Theroux would make a good Roman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't. If you did it as a musical, which I don't know that I would, it would be perfect to reteam Andrew Rannells and Josh Gad.
Oh God. Yeah. Which one as which?
Interchanging. Actually, I kind of feel like Josh Gad would be a better Roman.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I could see him as Roman and Rannells as Chet. Though I don't. It was just kind of like my thinking about pairings, and I was like, "What? We don't have pairings anymore as much."
It's true,
except for
I was gonna say like
Brad Pitt, George Clooney.
No, well, I was gonna say kind of like, and it's not really so much as much anymore, but like Kevin Hart and The Rock, kind of had their thing for a while.
Well, and you know what? That probably would have, if 2017, that probably would have been the remake.
Yeah.
With Kevin Hart as Chet and The Rock as Roman.
Yeah.
And I mean, not so much anymore, but that could have worked 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about some of the other like great duos, and it's like they wouldn't be the right age. I'm thinking like, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, like they'd have to be grandparents,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Though I'd love to see them together in something again.
That would be fun. I'm sure we'll see another John C. Reilly, Will Ferrell. I bet you they'll do a Step Brothers sequel at some point.
Oh, are they going to bring me back as audience member in the flashback scene?
No, because you pissed off Adam McKay by being a nerd about Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah.
So you've been blacklisted.
I'm not invited back.
No.
Well,
all the other extras are coming back.
I should say I haven't seen Holmes and Watson. I heard that it was pretty bad.
Did not.
So yeah, maybe the door's closed on a reunion.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, that would have been, again, like 20 years ago, that would have been a really good remake of the Great Outdoors, the two of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think there needs to be a remake. I think this movie's kind of been done a lot as it is. So, but hey, why not one more? And if you've got the right cast for it, I'd say go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you think?
Well, I think that this is a perfect opportunity to tell the other side of the story and have something from the bear's perspective. And to have a movie, and I don't want it to be in like Yogi Bear territory, but if like there was a CG looks actually realistic, family of bears that live alongside of this vacation rental community, and the way that the public, villainizes them and terrorizes them. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the Chet and Roman story, but, put in any other family that's on vacation or something. So that's what I got, because it's like The Great Outdoors isn't about the plot. It's about the characters. It's about the pairing. And so,
yeah.
And the funny lines and the funny moments and the giant steak.
Oh, you know what other pairing you could do? You switch things up a little bit and do a little Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, we haven't really seen much Melissa McCarthy recently.
Yeah, what was the last thing she was in? That Can You Forgive Me?
That was a while ago.
Can You Forgive Me? That was a while ago.
Well, yeah, she did. I think it was on Netflix or another streamer where.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
She did,
I can't remember the details.
One.
It's exactly. Well, there was a superhero one, but there was
her
also
and Octavia Spencer.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of a series that she did. Another Ben Falcone situation. Yeah. So I think that she's kind of been doing stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, Melissa McCarthy, they were just like, who should we match her up with this time? Sandra Bullock? Like, is kind of like she's hot. Let's figure out how we want to use her.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think they're also, if you put the team behind Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar
Oh my God.
on it, you have piqued my interest in a Great Outdoors remake.
Well, Dan, I want to tell you, this is something that we explored on a past episode with a different movie title, but IMDb has a great section where it shows the different titles for different countries, and so I took the liberty of translating a few of them, and I just wanted to read off a few that I thought were pretty entertaining. In Argentina, the title for The Great Outdoors translates to Two Crazy People on Vacation. In and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan?
Yeah, what's that?
Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan. I'm not too familiar with that one, but
Azerbaijan.
It translates to In the Lap of Nature, which I thought was nice.
Oh, artsy.
The French Canadian one translates to Calm the River.
Ooh.
In Denmark, it translates to Holiday with a Bear On.
That's the winner so far.
Okay, in Finland, I like this one. It's called, with an exclamation point at the end, Good to Go. I like this one. This is from Greece. It's called Visitors of Calamity.
Oh,
I thought that's pretty
yes.
cool. The one in Italy reads more like a tagline. It translates to, It wasn't a vacation, it was a war, exclamation mark.
Yep, that's a tagline.
I'm gonna skip to this other one. In Kazakhstan, Poland, USSR, and Uzbekistan, and maybe some other ones, it's called In the Bosom of Nature. And in Japan, it simply translates to chaos. Interesting, right?
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So I also alluded to
Holiday
the
with
idea
a
that we
bear
were going to
on.
have some fun with some John Candy character names.
Yes.
Would you like me to gamify this or just share with you my favorite John Candy character names that are uncharacteristic of John Candy?
I love a good game.
Okay, cool. Okay. Would you like the names of these movies in advance, or do you want me to you just want to,
Are you just going to give me the name and see if I can guess the movie?
I'll give you the name and see if you can guess the movie.
Let's start there. Yeah.
Okay. If you decide that you want a list of the movies, let me know and I can text it to you.
Okay.
Okay. Let's start with Cliff Murdoch.
Is that Splash?
It is not Splash. I will tell you this. I did not include his name from Splash on this list.
Oh,
because
okay.
it wasn't wacky enough.
Got it. So Cliff
Murdoch.
Okay,
I'm gonna give you some clues. Do you want clues?
I will take one clue, but yeah, I might have a second guess.
Well, tell me your second guess.
Give me the clue first.
Sports movie.
Oh, Cool Runnings.
No,
not Cool Runnings. Oh,
Cliff Murdoch.
Because that was one of my two guesses, but my other guess was not a sports movie. So Cliff Murdoch and what sports movies was
he plays?
Oh wait, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year. Okay, James Harlow. James Harlow.
James Harlow. James Harlow.
Think doesn't take place in present day.
Doesn't take place in present day.
Oh, present day as of the release of the movie, not like 2024.
Right. Okay. I've got two on my mind. I'm going to start with Wagons East.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well done. All right. How about
his last film?
Here's one. That's right. Here's one that I am pretty confident that you'll get. Wink Wilkinson.
A Little Shop of Horrors.
That's right. I'm We talked about this before. Jack Chester.
Yeah, the summer rental.
Spike Nolan.
Oh, shit. Is it Brewster's Millions?
That is correct. Buck Russell.
Uncle Buck.
That was a lob right there.
I'm ashamed it took as long as it did.
Irv Blitzer.
Home Alone?
No.
No.
I did not include Home Alone on this list.
You Irv
Blitzer.
Irv Blitzer. Is it Delirious?
No.
No. Can I have a hint?
We've already talked about this movie a few times on this episode.
Cool Runnings?
Jack Gable.
Oh.
Jack Gable.
Jack Gable. Oh, I'm running through. I'm gonna.
Let me know if you want a hint.
I'll give a guess first. Volunteers?
No, that's not on this list.
Not on the list? Okay, give me a hint then. Please.
You have not seen this movie.
I have not seen this movie?
Yes.
Oh, okay. A John Candy movie that I haven't seen?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Delirious. Shit. I was going to guess that first, and I forgot it.
Dean Andrews Jr.
Oh, that's JFK.
Yeah. Danny Muldoon.
Only the Lonely.
Del Griffith.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Burton Mercer.
Burton Mercer.
Burton
I'm trying to
Mercer.
think of I'm really trying to think of ones that haven't been guessed yet. Armed and Dangerous?
No. Not on the list.
Oh, okay. Burton Mercer.
Let me know if and when you would like a clue.
I'll take a hint, please.
An iconic SNL movie.
Oh, Blues Brothers. I don't ever remember, never remember his name from that movie.
Why would you? But it's Burton Mercer. I wasn't going to say Officer Burton Mercer.
Burton Mercer.
Okay, and then the last one that I have on here is Bud Boomer. Bud Boomer.
Bud Boomer. I'm like, which ones haven't I guessed? All the ones it could be. I'm like, you already said they're not on that I'm thinking of, at least.
Bud Boomer.
This feels like one of those, like a special appearance by John Candy roles rather than a starring John Candy role.
Definitely not.
Oh, okay. Can I have a hint?
Directed by a famous documentarian.
Oh, Canadian Bacon.
That's right. That's it, Dan. Well done.
Wow. I haven't seen Canadian Bacon since it was like first out, but I remember enjoying it.
Yeah.
So, yes. Directed by Michael Moore.
Directed by Michael Moore. I was looking through, because when I saw Chet Ripley, I was like, that is one hell of a name. That I feel like the name John Candy is so perfect for John Candy. Yes. And it's not because of his size and candy. It's just like the feeling of saying candy. Like you think it's just like it just brings you joy. And as a person, as an actor, he just evokes joy.
Yeah.
And even when he's playing a difficult to like character, usually you end up liking him at a certain point because you can't help it.
Yeah. last year during our teaching training days, every day you come in, you sign in and you make a name tag because they have new people coming in. And last year they tried this thing with the name tags where they had like different prompts that you'd fill in, different sentence starters. And one of them was my favorite candy is, and I wrote John on mine.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Of course I did. So, and the one person who noticed it and got it really appreciated it.
Good. All it takes is one.
That's what I keep telling myself.
Well, Dan, before we move on to talking a little bit about our Wyoming episode, I want to encourage our dear listeners to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment on Spotify. If you feel like watching this instead of just listening to it, you can always do that on our YouTube channel or on Spotify. It's a little late for that episode. What's up?
You know who does that?
Who does that?
Our Father.
Well, he specifically asked me for the link to the An Officer and a Gentleman episode.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that's why he had the video. I called him one night and he turned the phone around and there we were on the TV.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yes.
He wanted to watch it and I was like, okay, you asked for it. Here you go. Yeah, it really helps the show get recognized by other people to, rate it and review it on Apple Podcasts. And, goes a long way. We've been doing this for quite a long time. We're well over 250 episodes in, and we not only don't have plans to stop, but we have plans to double down. And we'll get to that later, but on the next episode. But Dan, why don't you tell everybody what we're doing to finish off our tour of these United States?
Oh boy, our grand finale where we end up in Wyoming with the story of Cat Ballou from 1965, directed by Elliot Silverstein, starring Jane Fonda, Lee Marvin, Nat King Cole, Stubby K is in there. And just a fun from, I think I mentioned 1965, a Western comedy.
It's like a Western spoof comedy. Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be it'll be my first time watching it. I don't know about
I'm excited to talk about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. It'll be a nice way to wrap up. And, and then we can kind of talk about what we have going on. But yeah, please do rate, review, share it with people. And remember, like subscribing, you're not committed to, you don't have to listen to every episode. There's no continuity, but we've got an archive loaded with movies, episodes on movies, both the biggest blockbusters and the smallest little niche films.
The Man starring James Earl Jones.
The Man starring James Earl Jones. Right.
Yeah.
So I encourage you, if you're frustrated because none of the other movie podcasts ever talk about your like one little weird favorite movie that you love, check out our archive. We might love that weird little movie just as much.
Totally. Well, Dan, as you are water skiing all over the lake, I wish you a good journey.
Good journey.